What do you see? Young, old, female, male? Welcome to another episode of Unlocking Mind Behind Make More Work Less. My name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also a best-selling author. And every single day, I help others unlock the potentials and guide them to succeed. Today on Unlocking the Mind, we talk about another cognitive bias. And the reason why I have this show is so that we can better understand how our minds work, make better decisions, build strong relationships, and of course, avoid certain cognitive traps. So let me ask you a question for another cognitive bias, and that is, what do you see? Do you see young, old, male, female? Well, if you see an old male or a young female, you're correct. And why is that? That is because of selective perception. And what exactly is that? Well, that is the tendency not to notice and more quickly forget stimuli that causes emotional discomfort and contradicts our prior belief. Now, if you see a young woman, then that might be because you're exposed to that environment more. You have more experience in that area. Or if you see an old man, that might be because you're experienced with that area more and you're exposed to that area more. So why is that? Well, that is because we tend to like to see things the way we want to see them. We don't see them the way they are. We see them how we want to see them. And that's because of our cultural background, our upbringing, our experiences, what we like, what we don't like, what we remember, what we don't remember. And the thing is, we like to be in our comfort zone. We tend to like to see patterns, put things together, connect the dots so that it makes us feel safe, so that we could predict what's going to happen in the future, so that we can kind of expect certain things without putting ourselves at risk. That's really just what our minds are doing so that we are not fearful of what's to come. And therefore, we create things to make us feel more comfortable. So there's three ways of selective perception. Number one is selective attention. And this is where people go, hey, look over here, and you tend to look over there. You selectively put your attention somewhere else, whereas something else could be happening here, but it's not as shiny or it's not as extravagant, and you tend to focus your attention to somewhere else. A great example of that is, have you seen that video where they show, hey, how many passes has the people in the white shirts passed the basketball? And you sit there and you count all the passes and all that kind of stuff. And then at the end, it goes, well, what number did you get? Did you get 17? Did you get 18? And he goes, oh, yeah, I got that. And then they go, well, did you see the walking gorilla? And you go, what gorilla? Well, that's because you selectively place your attention only on the people in white passing the basketball, but you did not see the gorilla walking by. Check that video out. It is a lot of fun. And well, now that I told you, you're going to look for that gorilla because your attention is selectively on the gorilla now, or expecting it. Number two is selective distortion. Well, that is when we remember things differently. Have you ever gotten to an argument with somebody and goes, I remember the time when blah, 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 blah. And they go, that's not what happened at all. And he goes, no, I swear, I believe that's what happened. I remembered it that way. Why? Because you tend to remember things differently to support what you believe happened. You want to believe it to be a certain way so that it supports what your thoughts were. You don't want to be wrong. So you kind of remember it differently than somebody else. And thirdly is the selective recall. You tend to remember things that support you. You tend to remember certain stats, facts, and stories that supports the stuff that you believe in. And the stuff that you don't believe, you tend to just don't remember at all. So those are the three types of selective perception: attention, distortion, and then also recall. So the thing is, sometimes when information is presented exactly the same way, two people might see two different things. So for instance, again, do you see an old man or do you see a young woman? Present exactly the same way, people might see things a little bit different. Just like that dress, is it a blue dress or is it a brown dress? Is it a pink dress or is it a green dress? People have different perceptions as to what they see. So how do we use this for presentations? Well, if we started our presentations by guiding people along a certain path, then you can make their attention more selective towards how you want them to proceed. So for instance, if I kept on talking about the good old days or what men did back in the time, you might actually see that old man first before you see the young woman, because I'm selecting certain words to focus your attention on. So when we're doing presentations and you have a main message that you want to share, then you want to guide your audience along so that you don't allow them to waver off to a different types of perception and select different attention focuses and all that kind of stuff. You want to guide them along to a certain path. You want to guide them along to a certain message. And that's how we need to think when we're creating presentations, we're talking about stories, we're doing speeches, we want them to focus on what we're talking about. And we want to make sure that we know our audience as well, so that we're able to let them remember the stuff we're talking about that means more to them. We have to get their emotional attention. We see this a lot in magicians. If you watch magicians do their shows, you can tell they're using all three of these. They're using the attention thing, they're using the recall, they're using distortion, because they want you to remember things differently. They want you to only remember certain things that support what you believe. And at the end, they utilize all that to give you a great show, to trick you to thinking, wow, how did it do that? Because they use all three of these things. They make sure that you are selectively picking things that perception-wise allows them to fool you. So that is selective perception, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, please go back and watch some of my other episodes on Unlocking the Mind. And if you like Unlocking the Mind, we have a lot of other shows: the Peak Potential Success Show, the Master Mind Bites, and of course the Make More Mind Bites that's up every single week. So until next time, thank you very much for your likes, subscriptions, and your comments. I love seeing those comments. And until next time, today is the day to lock your peak potential. I'll see you later.